Hey y'all, it's Stephie and welcome back to my channel. So today I am so excited. I have kind of a new series that I wanted to kick off here on my channel. I've been talking about it for a while now with some of my girlfriends. The goal is to share the stories and journeys of other professionals so you guys can see a little bit more about other people's journeys, insight on like real life professionals. Hopefully y'all will hear something interesting about people's journeys. Maybe get to learn a little bit of something to implement in your own life. We're gonna kick off this series with my friend Ashley. She has a YouTube channel and we'll go more into detail when we start the recording here. But I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of background. You know, I've been doing my videos for a while now. I remember Ashley on my channel a lot. She would interact with me a lot in the comments, and I appreciate that so much because when I make these videos, I know I'm talking to someone, and you know, to hear feedback and to kind of have that response is really helpful for me because it's still a conversation, even though a slightly delayed conversation. I believe the very first person to send me snail mail had it up in my old office, but y'all know my office is not ready here at the new house, so stuff is still in boxes right now. So anyway, I still have her graduation announcement and it's so special to me. Kept in touch with me as I did with her as well. So I'm really excited for Ashley to be the first, you know, person on this series to share her journey, and I think y'all will really enjoy it because her story is different from mine, and I hope that those of y'all who have asked me questions about like more of a non-traditional route will gain something valuable from this interview. Let's jump right into it.
OMG, Ashley! I feel like this is so long overdue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I was just telling Keith that he was like, "What are you doing this morning?" I said, "I'm having like a virtual interview session with Stephanie." He was like, "But y'all have been friends for like years."
I know. I'm like, I feel like you and I we've been talking for like a while, I feel like.
Yeah, when Eric was like, he wasn't even 2 yet. I was still in
Yeah.
school.
I always had your like graduation postcard up on my bulletin board at my old house, and then I packed it away like with stuff for my office. And my office right now, girl, is like still a mess. This is like the only clean looking spot.
Oh,
So I'm
well,
still looking for
let
it.
me show you what my situation is. That's a panel for my island that's not up yet.
Oh, oh, that's funny.
One little corner of painted wall.
Girl, I have this. Let's look over there. It's a
Yeah.
mess. It's a mess, girl. Well, cool. Thanks for jumping on with me today. I've actually been thinking about this for a while. I've been wanting to do like different, I guess, chats with other professionals in the accounting industry, or just like professionals in general, just to get kind of like their story. But you're like the first of the series, so I'm really excited.
Yay!
To give everyone a little intro about you, why don't you give people just kind of like, you know, what you're about, kind of like a quick little spiel about, you know, I know you have a YouTube channel as well. So in case, you know, the rest of the Stephie fam hasn't seen it, because I've been sharing it over there on the community page. So hopefully, you know, they've been checking the community page.
I'm Ashley, and I do have a YouTube channel here called Richoux on Demand. That's my soon-to-be married name. We post videos basically about our everyday life. We are in an interracial age gap relationship living in the South, so it can be interesting sometimes. I think it was what pushed me to like put it out there is that I am an accounting professional, and there's a lot of stigma around, oh well, she must be a kept woman because she's in this type of a relationship and things like that. So I just wanted to share like, no, I'm an accounting professional. Most of the time I actually make more money than my husband, depending on his jobs that are coming in, because he's a contract worker. So yeah, so we put that out there, and you know, it's been interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely link over in the cards for everyone your Barcroft TV episode. I watched that and then I rewatched it again this morning. I thought it was so cool, just like the way that they portrayed everything and just the filming. So they actually like came to your home and filmed y'all.
Yeah, so it happened really fast. It went from like 1 week we were emailing, and then they were like, "Okay, we're gonna send a crew over," but it wasn't really a crew. It was like a camera person.
Yeah.
But she like followed us around. We had some stuff playing with the wedding, so like it was pretty interesting just having somebody in the house. Eric has gotten to the point to where he's like, I want to say something. So in some of our
Oh.
newer vlogs, he's
Uh-huh.
talking a whole lot more. So it's so funny. I just wanted people to see how natural our relationship is. It's
Mhm.
not something that's like so abnormal that we have to work ridiculously hard or work around obstacles that normal couple work around. I like that Barcroft decided to do the video with us and wanted to talk about my career specifically in the
Yes.
video. So yeah.
Hmm. I saw that and I was like, what accountants? I love that. And then you talked about being an auditor, so that was really cool too. I was really excited about that. I'm such a nerd. I was like, yay.
Yeah, I went into a little bit more detail. Then I was like, no, scratch that. Let me just make it more simple. Because if I start talking too in depth, people are gonna be like, "What does an
Yeah,
auditor
like
do?"
tune out. Yeah. And I think that the way you explained it was so good. Like it was just very succinct and like very easy to understand if you weren't in the industry. So I thought that was awesome.
Right, right.
Mhm. Okay, well, I know if everyone wants to, check out your channel and follow along on y'all's age gap relationship and just y'all's life in general, whether it's, specifically your relationship or anything, definitely go and check out Ashley's channel because it's linked in the cards and in the description box. But I wanted to go ahead and just kind of understand like your accounting journey. I remember when we started talking, you were still in college. So, and you were going to college while Eric was still young. So, I mean, that was amazing. And I like definitely, I am in awe of, you for doing that for yourself and for your son. How did you get into accounting? And just kind of what your journey's been.
I feel like I like to tell people I took the long way around to
Yeah.
accounting, because prior to me having Eric, I was in college, of course, full time, but I was a physics major. I was all about,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was a physics major, and I completed my junior year in physics. So I only had 1 year to go, and we had a family
Mhm.
tragedy, and I was like, I need to take time off. So I took time off and I jumped into getting a job, but I was like, well, I don't want to work super hard, but I want to work, So I decided, let me try to get a little teller position at a bank. And so that's what
Mhm.
I did. And I kind of worked my way up to like, there's like a hybrid role between teller and personal banker. It's called like
Mhm.
financial services rep or something. So you can open accounts and do teller transactions at the same time. And so what happened was our bank was scheduled for our external audit. And because at the time I didn't have any children, I was chosen to like stay late, do the correspondence back and forth with the
Mm.
auditor, pull the documents and things like that.
Mhm.
And as I was pulling documents, I was like, why does she need to see all this stuff? Like, what are you looking for? What are you doing? And so I just had a conversation with her one evening. I think we were in the vault room or something. It was hot.
Mhm.
And I was like, and she was sitting back there, and I was like, she has to be so uncomfortable back here because I hate coming back here to count. And so we were just back there talking, and she was telling me about her job as an auditor. And I was like, well, how do you become an auditor? And she was like, well, I got an accounting degree and I'm working on my CPA. And all of that stuff was foreign to me at the time, but I'm a
Mhm.
researcher naturally because I come from a science background. So
Right.
um, I just hopped on Google and YouTube and just dove straight into this accounting profession research. And I was like, okay. But I really didn't do anything with it at the time. I kind of just stuck it in my back pocket. Like
Mhm.
at the time, I wasn't really thinking about completing my degree because I got to the point with my physics degree where I didn't know what I would do with it once I received my degree. So I was kind of putting off going back to school. And life happened. And then Eric
Mhm.
showed up into my life and blessed me in so many wonderful ways. But it freaked me out because I'm like, how do I take care of this little boy in the way that I feel like I should take care of him? Like, what could I do quickly to where I could make a decent living? And
Mhm.
for some reason, like accounting just popped back up on me, and I thought for a little tiny bit about going to pharmacy school because I have a god sister who's a pharmacist, and I was like, I can't be away from him. Like, pharmacy schools are so spread out around the country. There isn't like necessarily a pharmacy school in your state. I don't know. I just looked into accounting again, and when I went back to school, Eric was about 1. Yeah, Eric was about 1. Went back to school full time, 18 hours. Like,
damn. Wow.
yeah, and we have 2 summer sessions. I took both summer sessions. Like, I was
That's
like, I have to
incredible.
get done quickly because he's young. You know, I'm stretched so thin because I was using any type of aid or anything I got to pay for his daycare for me to be able to go to school full time. And it was really, really, really tough. But I don't know. We kind of fell into a little routine. You know, he would fall asleep in my lap while I'm trying to type on the computer and all this other kind of stuff. So once I got my degree, like, the opportunities just kind of opened up because I'm, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I'm really big about networking and getting to know people. And so I think a lot of people, when a lot of people in the accounting department are fresh out of high school, they know they want to go into accounting. You know, it's kind of like get in front of as many people as you can. But I think a lot of the employers kind of liked the drive that they saw with me being in school full time and being a mom at the same time. And I didn't hide that because sometimes when you go into interviews, you kind of don't know what to say. As far as what to let them know and what to hold back. You know, you don't want to X yourself out of a position, but I always thought it was really important to let employers know up front, like, hey, you know, I'm a single mom first, and I need a little bit of flexibility earlier on than I probably would have gotten as an intern or staff. So yeah, I had my first internship my senior year. I ended up interning the entire senior year, which was great because it was a paid internship and that helped a lot. And then I would have gone full time with that company, but somewhere along the line, somebody dropped the ball and they thought I would have to go back for additional credits for my CPA. But I didn't because I already had 3 years of courses prior to me getting my accounting degree. So when I graduated, I had my CPA credits. And so they wanted me to sign a contract, but it was for like a year out. And I'm like,
My God, no.
I can't do that.
Was that company, was it a public accounting firm or was it like an industry job?
Yeah, it was a public accounting firm. And so they're just on a really strict, really strict hiring cycle. So I was like, I can't commit myself to y'all a year away and not know what I'm going to do once I get my degree. Like, I have a whole year of income that I need to make because, I have Eric. And so some partners at that firm actually reached out to some of their contacts, and that's how I got my first actual accounting job after school. He reached out to some of his contacts and he was like, hey, we have this candidate that we really hate to lose, but she's in this situation and we need, she needs somewhere to work. And I mean, I walked right in. It was kind of like a meeting, hey, how are you? What's your name? What do you need? Blah, blah, blah. This is the salary. This is your start date.
It wasn't like an interview. It was like already a given.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that started my accounting career.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. So when it came to those partners, like, one of the things that I think is so important in like your career, like you mentioned, was the networking aspect of it. And like, I know a lot of people say like it's not about what you know, it's who you know. And I feel like that is, and I do think to a degree that is, correct. I think there's a balance in it. But what do you think you did right to like get those partners, to be able to like have them want to reach out to people in their network to find you, a different opportunity?
At first, I really didn't know. I didn't think I did anything that stood out amongst any of the other interns. But I expressed an interest, and this was like when data analytics was just becoming like a thing. KPMG was doing big things with it, but other accounting firms were kind of slowly getting into the data analytics arena. And so I expressed an interest in that really early on. So I was like one of the only interns working with a particular manager on the data analytics side. And I ended up getting to write an article that was published on their website and everything while I was still an intern. And so when from what I understand, I wasn't privy because I'm not in the meetings with senior managers and partners, but from what I understand, there were a lot of managers, senior managers fighting for me, trying to figure out how they could fit me on their teams. Before I got the news that essentially there wasn't a spot for me, I literally spoke with maybe 5 partners, 3 of which are in focus areas that I never touched as far as working in them. So I think I called the particular partner I'm talking about. I called him because he was over the focus group I did work in, and I was going to apply to an industry job, which happened to be one of their clients, and I didn't want there to be a conflict of interest situation. I mean, I didn't work on their job specifically, but I knew that one of the managers I worked with did, and I just didn't know how that worked yet. So I called to make sure it wasn't going to be an issue. And I think like 2 seconds later, he called me back and he was like, "Hey, would you want to work in government?" And I was like, "Sure." I think it was just, being proactive and being in front of them and being willing to offer help, being willing to try, even if I wasn't sure how to do something. I don't think there was one time where someone asked me to do something. I was just like, no, I don't know how to do it. I think you have to really go in with the spirit of you want to learn, you want to help, you want to be a part of the team. And that goes a long way with people, especially in like the public accounting arena, because there's so much of teamwork. Yeah, I don't really think there was anything like outrageous that I did that, made them think of me.
Yeah, no, I think what you said is completely like true. Whenever I was staffing engagements and when I was in public accounting, a lot of what I looked for was people with great attitudes, people who were team players, because you can teach someone the technical aspect of things. It's a little bit harder to open up someone's, I guess, mindset to wanting to do anything, whether it's something glamorous or kind of what do you call it, it's like has a lot of attention on it, in the audit, or if it's something right, exactly, or something less, ordering lunches or whatever, because
flipping confirmations, which sucks.
Exactly, like it's not glamorous, but exactly. So I think that's awesome. And I also like that what you said about, that you were proactive. I think that's huge too, being able to, like, if you want something, being able to tell people of that, or like to go, see how you can make that happen versus like waiting around for it to happen for you, even if you're uncomfortable, I think that's huge. You went to public accounting, and then after that you said you went into a government job?
Yes. I worked in state audit. So, and I worked in our agency division. So that is where any state agencies who receive federal funding, they are required to have an audit at least once a year or every other year, depending on if they're type A or type B and some other parameters. But so that's basically what I did. Government accounting is so different than public. It's like night and day almost. It's not nearly as fast paced. When I first started there, I literally had one of my supervisors say, I know you're used to working a lot faster, and that's great, but you don't have to, because if you work so fast, you're just sitting here doing nothing for a month, because you're working in a situation where we aren't hired by a client. We're required to be here by law, so they don't really want you there. So they're not really proactive about getting you the information you're requesting. And we're looking at like so much more detail too in government. So it was a great experience. I learned a lot. There's a lot of people working in governmental accounting who know so much information, and even though it's slower paced and you don't touch as many things as often, there was just a camaraderie there at that job where I didn't feel like if I didn't know the answer to something, it was not that it wasn't a big deal, but I wouldn't feel like somebody was going to chastise me or make me feel less than because I didn't know the answer to something. It was really like there's a bunch of us studying for the CPA exam at the time. So we were all like sharing study materials and things like that. So it was kind of like a family, you know.
Yeah.
You kind of bond over the fact that while you are taking, you know, a little bit of a pay cut per se, than if you were to go into public straight out of college, you got an opportunity to kind of just relax enough to hone your skills in certain areas, you know, and not feel that pressure like I got to get it right, I got to get it right, I got to get it right. So that was it was a great job. I cried when I put in my notice there. Government is it's a good industry to go into if you like something a little more steady paced, but you don't particularly want to be in industry just yet or at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, you know, just government is not as perk filled as public. You know, you don't see as many things as quickly, but it's a good solid career choice to go into straight out if you want to be able to learn some stuff, especially if you're going to sit for the CPA exam since it's so much slower.
Mm-hmm. So did you pass your CPA exam while you were at that job?
I took all of them and failed them all.
Hey.
But I got the closest I've ever gotten. I got a 72 on like 3 of them. And I think that was right before I took my first position here in Louisiana, which was another public job. I got a 72 on 3 of them. And I think that kind of just like discouraged me. And I'm still like, now I'm kind of getting back to like, okay, I'm ready to like sit for it again. But like getting 72 like back to back to back on 3 different ones, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, that's I can see how that can be very like disheartening. When I failed FAR twice before I, passed it. Girl, I didn't get a 72. It was like I don't even remember. It was low.
Yeah.
So the one good thing at least is like that you're just like a teeny bit away.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, just a little food for thought, I guess. From Mississippi, then you ended up moving to Louisiana. So tell me about that transition.
The move to Louisiana was just, it hit me like a ton of bricks kind of thing. Like I had no thought process of it. The only other place I ever wanted to live outside of where I was living was Texas. And so I talked to you about it. I was looking at applying to jobs in Texas, and I'm just like, I'm at home, and to get into a little bit of my personal business or whatever. Before I met Keith, once I moved here, I was dating someone else who's from close to here, but in Louisiana. And I was talking to him about we were talking about moving to like a more serious situation. And he had been working at his job for like 14 years. So I was like, well, I mean, I work in accounting, so I can get an accounting job anywhere, and he worked in engineering or something. And not shading him, he's a great guy, it just didn't work out. But yeah, so I moved to Louisiana. I told him that if I found a job that I wanted to take, I would move to Louisiana. And literally, I put out my resume and I got a phone call that day. I set up a phone interview the next Tuesday. I came to Louisiana 2 days later for an in-office interview, and I got an offer like by that Friday. So in less than a week, I had an offer, and I was putting in my notice at my job. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm meant to be moving to. I'm really big about signs too. So I'm like, I guess it's meant for me to move to Louisiana, because if something happens that quickly, I guess you should be there. Right. So yeah, I moved here. I got another public accounting job. When I was in public the first time, Eric was really, really, really young still. He was like 2. And I had my mom's help, and we were in a familiar area because I'd spent so much time there between college and everything, and I had a lot of friends there. So the pace and the workload didn't bother me. But coming here, where it's pretty much just me and Eric, my mom would come back and forth. It became so much for me, the workload. And every company's culture doesn't fit well with you. I'm not saying it's a bad company or anything, but just the way that every company operates just isn't the way your personality is. And
Mm-hmm.
so I found it very difficult to get up and go to work. It just became a chore more
Mm-hmm.
so than just, oh, I have to go to work. It's just like, I do not like going to this place. Nothing about the people or anything. It's just the mindset and the culture in that workplace. It just was very toxic for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm really big on mental health, and I don't make it a secret, even on my channel, that, I go to therapy for my anxiety issues because I need to be the best whole person I can be for my child and for my family. So when I found that, I was having these anxiety attacks and I was having these thoughts of inadequacy and overwhelmness all the time, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't stay.
Right.
I can't stay here any longer. And so I kind of made up the decision. I had some money saved, and by then I met Keith, and he's amazing as far as support and everything. And he was like, well, I don't want you to be sad every single time you come home. Every single time I see you hate your job. And it wasn't that I hated my job. I just felt weighed down.
Yeah.
And so I kind of made up my mind that I didn't even have another job set up. I was like, I can't stay. I have to
Mm-hmm.
leave. So I put in my notice, and
Sorry, Juicy got up.
oh, I have Bug locked in the in the hallway because he would be like trying to knock down this computer right now, trying to see
Oh
what's
my
going
God.
on.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No. But yeah, so like right before I actually put in my notice, I again, just put out my resume, and I didn't even put it out aggressively. I think I like updated my Indeed resume or something. Like, that's it. Like, I didn't do
Uh-huh.
anything else yet. And I got a call from the job I'm at now, and we had like a
Okay.
little chat, and then I went in for a an interview the day before Fat Tuesday. He offered me the job, and I took it,
Wow.
but I was still able to take like 2 weeks off, before I started. So I was still
Mm-hmm.
able to like kind of decompress a little bit. And that's where I am now. And like, it's just a breath of fresh air. I tell Keith every day, like, I just love my job. Like,
That's
it's a
awesome.
small bank, which is funny because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm back in banking where it all
Yeah.
started for
It's
me.
full circle. Uh-huh.
Just now I'm upstairs. I'm not downstairs doing like transactions, but yeah. And it's a small bank. It's very close now. I mean, there's like 7, 8 of us in the branch at any given time. So it's kind of I work directly under our CFO, and he's an amazing person. He knows so much, and I'm learning so much from him.
That's
Um,
great.
so yeah, I really enjoy it, and I couldn't be happier right now. I really feel like I'm just in like such a good place.
Good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I know, like, sometimes it just takes a few twists and turns to get there.
Hmm.
So that's awesome. I won't go into a whole bunch of detail into your other jobs but I'm sure that, or these jobs that you've shared with us, I'm sure that there will be more questions. So if, the Subby fam has questions about like your career journey and wants to go more in depth, then y'all be sure to go over to Ashley's channel and leave her some comments so that she knows what to, what
Yeah.
videos y'all want to hear more about.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to doing more career-based videos. If they want to see them. I'm just now branching into those other arenas of my life outside of my relationship that people have
Yeah.
asked about. So, yeah, I'm definitely open.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. So I know this video is going to be super long. So I think what I want to do to kind of just wrap it up so that, the questions can come to you and we're not going to make this like an hour and a half hour and a half video because, I'm like, that's podcast territory, right?
Right.
So I guess looking back and like reflecting on your journey, for me, just like hearing your journey, what I really like appreciate about that is like um, the way that you've kind of moved in your career. It seems like you've really used like your values and like your why, like your drive. It sounds like creating or being able to give a life to yourself and to Eric and to like support your family. That's like a very big why for myself as well. I It sounds like you really use that as kind of like your compass when you're making your career moves. So I definitely identify with that. So I guess looking back at your journey, like what do you think, if you could go back and give yourself some advice while you're going through, the stuff that you were going through, if there's something that kind of sticks out, what would that be?
One thing that I would tell myself is someone else's criticism of you does not define you. It doesn't define just because somebody is critiquing your work or critiquing the speed that you're doing your work or critiquing the fact that you don't have your CPA or whatever the critique is, doesn't define your worth to that company. Remember that they need you as much as you need them in certain aspects. A lot of people, I think, kind of get wrapped up in the accounting machine. The fact that there's a new group coming in every year, and that's true, but that's to combat turnover. It's not necessarily automatically to push someone out, because accounting, especially public in itself, there is high turnover. So just remember that, somebody needs to do the grunt work, even if it sucks. They need someone to do it. So don't feel like you're less than someone else because you haven't accomplished X, Y, and Z yet. Their timeline isn't your timeline, and there is no time limit on anything. I've met people who are in their 50s, who are in their 60s, and they change their career to accounting. So, there isn't a time limit. Go at your pace, go at your comfort, learn as much as you can, but don't take it so personal. I think it's something that I would just really tell my past self, like, don't take it personal.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I apologize for assuming that about your CPA journey, assuming that you had already passed, girl. I can't keep my mind straight these days. So
I wish I passed already.
hey, and you know what I really like about your story and your journey as well is like I get a lot of questions from people about like, is the CPA like absolutely necessary to have like a good job? Will you not be marketable? Will you not be able to find a job unless you get the CPA? And you know, just because I went down the path that I went down, doesn't mean that's the same path for everyone. Not to say that you're not going to get your CPA, but like from hearing your story, and even though you're working towards that, like you still have had so many opportunities and jobs, that have been open to you even without the CPA. So I'm so glad to like be able to share your story, because I know there's some people out there who don't feel the fire, to get the CPA, and that's fine. You don't have to get the CPA. So it doesn't sound like you've had a problem with finding a job without it.
No. I feel like it depends on which journey you want to take. Industry for sure. You can definitely walk into most industry jobs with a degree and maybe a year or so of experience and get a decent salary with great benefits and work your way up a tad bit slower, honestly, than you would with the CPA. That's just the nature of the beast. If I had a CPA, I probably could be senior auditor somewhere, with the years of experience I have. But I'm very comfortable where I am. I've never been upset with my salary because I'm not a CPA.
Good.
If that, you know, if that, because I think like that's a big thing. A lot of people are worried that they won't be able to make the money they want to make. And the reality of the situation is, CPA or not, you need experience. So you're going to start somewhere. So if you're going to go into public, whether you have your CPA when you start or not, 9 times out of 10, if you're going in as an entry level staff, you're going to be about the same level as somebody who doesn't have it. So
Exactly.
If you're going into industry, if you want to get it, they'll work with you. Most of the time, they don't even require you to have it. And there are other certifications that are just as marketable depending on what you want to go into. So it's not always just a CPA. I'm really interested in my CIA as well.
Ooh.
So, I mean, everybody has their own journey. And just because one person, like you said, just because you took the journey you took and I took the journey that I took, there isn't a wrong or right way as long as you're happy with your decision.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I got excited about your wanting to pursue the CIA, because that's a license that I'm like I've been wanting to get, my CIA and my CISA. So I'm trying to work with my my current boss to, you know, to get that, you know, so that it's not out of my pocket necessarily. So I'm still working on it, but that's cool. That's cool that you want to go towards that license as well. Is there anything else that maybe you wanted to share with people on my channel before we, I guess, end off? Personally, I would be so interested in this type of like content when I was like a college student. So anyways,
something that was just really like, tell me what you went through so that I don't feel like what I'm going through is crazy. Because there's so many people who aren't taking the traditional road. And I felt that's how I felt going back to school. When I was looking into accounting, there was a lot of content about people who knew they wanted to go into accounting straight into school. They went through the recruiting process and they interned their junior year and they interned their senior year. And I'm like, well, I'm like 6 years behind everybody else. Like, is this been an option for me, you know? So I think content like this is something that's really needed for somebody who's like not a traditional student, you know, who's not, or who's doing a career change, you know, later in life. I think this is a great series you're starting here. So I look forward to keeping watching.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you shared your story, because I get a lot of like questions about the non-traditional path, and you know, I try to share as much info as I've been able to see, you know, like on the outside looking in with people I work with and everything. But it's nice to hear it from someone who's actually like, you know, doing it themselves. So
yeah.
Anywho, well, thank you so much, Ashley. Thanks for being here on my channel and, you know, spending Memorial Day with me. Yeah. If you guys are interested, you know, in learning more about Ashley, go check out her channel, linked in the description box and in the cards. And hopefully y'all will be seeing Ashley again on my channel as we, you know, I'd love to have you back to have more chats and everything. And maybe one day we'll be in person, because I know we've been talking about it for years and years and years. So
yeah. Listen, we were gonna do it, and then, you know, this mess happened, and our country went down, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But we're making it there, you know. We're making it there. The crazy's settling down, so we're just gonna see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't wait to see all the house renos that y'all, you know, do and all the updates and everything. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we're really close. I used the stove for the first time in months last night, and I was like,
oh wow,
gosh,
yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, we're really excited. This room is probably a couple weeks from being done, pretty much just because we're like waiting on the new sink and stuff. But yeah, we're really close.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Alrighty, girl. Well, have a great rest of your day. Tell Keith and Eric that I say hi.
Yeah, I will.
Well, have a great day, and I'm sure we'll be talking here soon.
Okay, perfect. Bye.
Bye, girl. Sorry, I have to cough.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Girl, I didn't want to cough right in your ear, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, baby? And Juicy wants to say hi. Come here, baby. She was so good. She just listened the whole time, took her nap. All right, we're gonna get the day started.